Hello and welcome back to AC's Make and Repair. Well, rolled up in this old face washer is an old carving fork and a steel. It was part of a carving set. A relative of mine, it was her late mother's carving fork and steel. It was part of a set. She's asked me if I could put two new handles on it. That was about a Christmas ago, and I promptly brought them home after I'd said yes and forgot all about it. She wants me to use some Kauri pine that's sentimental to her as well to make the handle out of, and that's what I'm going to do today. So if you'd like to, come along and watch me and I'll show you how I made the two handles for this carving fork and this steel. So first I'll cut up two rough blanks, the rough size of the handles. These are really small handles on this particular style of cutlery years ago. They were usually made of like of a bone, type of synthetic bone material. And so I'm going to make them the same. I may end up making this one a little bit bigger. Looks a bit small for a serving fork, but then again, might be right. We'll see how it looks when we've done the basic outline of it all. So I cut the basic size, and then I've got to now drill the holes in the end of them. That's one of the first processes I do, drill that hole, make sure it's correctly in line, etc. like that. And that's the hard part over. And then we just a matter of shaping and finishing and gluing it in. So let's do that now. There was two different size tangs in these utensils. The fork had a smaller tang than the steel, so I had to use two different size drill bits. So what I did is I checked the depth, as you can see I'm doing here, and I lined the drill bit up against it, and I put it in the chuck so the chuck would be the stopper. I actually made it go about 3/16 or 5 millimeters deeper than what I needed for the depth of the tang. Now here you see me lining up against the end of a square block. I lined the fence up and centralised the point of the bit right over some pre-marked central marks for where I want the hole drilled. Once I've centralised it, I lock off the clamp on the fence. I keep it square, so this makes sure that the hole goes dead straight, perpendicular, down the length of the handle. Like I said, it's 3/16 deeper, roughly 5 millimeters deeper than it needs to be, and I drill that hole, clearing it as I go, as you'll see me do now. You repeat the same process for both handles. I drill and clear, just line it up like I did with both. I'll fast forward through this, but you get the rough idea what I'm doing. So if you look carefully, you'll see I've marked a slight taper of about 3/8 of an inch or 9 millimeters from the top to the bottom. So the bottom is narrower, and then I proceed to plane that taper. I actually go back to a smaller size plane here, just for the ease of use, and just plane it back. And I plane the taper on both handles from the top to the bottom. It's wider at the top of the handle than it is at the utensil end of the handle. Now here in this footage you see me flattening the sides, just on a piece of about 120. I rub it back on the flat table of the machine, and that gives the taper nice and flat. I just like doing that because it saves a lot of mucking around later. You get any little marks out of it. So I rub all four sides down on both pieces. Here you see me lining it up by eye to make sure it's fitting right and running true. Both of them run fairly true. The steel was a little bit out, but I just pushed on the handle and lined it up pretty good, and it'll glue up good. Next I ran a small round over bit over all the edges, around all the sides, and I did this on both of them, and it came out quite good actually, with the ends, you can see. You need to take your time and take your care when you're doing these really fitted little pieces around a bit that's doing 20 something thousand RPM. I set the fences up nice and tight, that way there's minimal sort of gap for your finger to go, and I'm very careful as I do it, and I urge you to be careful if you ever do small stuff like this too. Next I'll give everything a good sand. I think I'm using about 180 here. Give it a good sand, just get any little router marks out, any little marks left by the bearing on the side of the handle, anything like that. And I test fit it again too. These are actually a foam back sanding pad. I find them really good for profile, and they help hold the profile good when you route something or shape something. Now we're up to the glue up stage, so I cut out some paper and I pretty well wrap everything up that doesn't need to get glue all over it. I'm using a 2-pack epoxy, just a quick dry one. It's going to be adequate for what we're using here. So I tape everything up with masking tape, and including the utensil as well as the wooden part of the handle, just so we don't get glue on everything we don't need glue on. So we do that now, and then we go to the point where we mix the glue and start putting it, assembling it together. So I've mixed the glue up, and there you'll see me assemble, and I put some of the tang first, and then I put some down the hole like I'm doing now. I use these gloves. That's another good thing too. I find I always seem to get glue all over my hands, especially when it's 2-pack or epoxy. Give it a bit of a tap, release any bubbles, slip the tang in, bob it in and out a few times so it goes everywhere all over. Run the tang in the glue again, and then put the tang down so it squirts out a bit. Then I'll make sure I lined everything up. You'll notice in a second I'll line this up by eye, just to make sure it's running right. And once I've got it running right, see I'm looking at it now. Push it in nice and hard. And once I've got it right, I set it exactly right. Take off any excess there too. Checking it again. Once I've got it right, I'll put it aside. And I do the same to the other. So I'll let the glue set for a bit over, probably about an hourish or so. And it has set fairly hard. This one sets fairly hard, fairly quick. Good enough to do what I need to do to finish the process. So I come back over and I strip all the tape and paper off the handle part. And I even take a little bit off the bottom too on both of them. And then I prepare and get ready for lacquering them. I'm going to use a nitrocellulose lacquer on the handle of these, and I'll put 2 or 3 coats on by dipping it into the lacquer itself. Okay, here you have the two utensils. This is the steel and this is the carving fork. After I'd sanded them, which you saw in its raw state, I did actually dip them. This is a nitrocellulose lacquer. I dipped them down in there, shook off the excess and turned them until they cured, which it doesn't take long with nitrocellulose. It pretty well snaps off pretty quick and goes dry pretty quick. Light sand between this coat and the next coat. I'll probably only do the 2 coats and we'll go from there. So what I'm about to do now is re-dip again and twirl again until they go dry. It gives a nice, this is a 60% gloss, okay? So I'm about to dip them now. I've just got somebody helping me to hold one, and I'll dip the worst one first because this is the harder one to twirl. So if you can see down in there, what I do is I literally dip it until it goes up to the tang basically, and just enough to cover the end of the fork end of the handle. Once that's done, as you can see, it's run off there. So I shake the excess off, and it's literally just a matter of twirling it like this, and it'll go off pretty quick. But it needs to be twirled like this, as you can see. So that's one done. Now this is the next one. It's the easier one to do, and it goes in the same way. And I literally shake off the excess like that, and it's just a matter of twirling. And it will cure pretty good, and it's a nice heavy coat and gives a good pale finish. We don't want a coloured finish really on this if we can help it. So there you go. I'll just keep twirling that until it cures, and then I'll show you once it's cured. So here's the finished product. As you can see, they came up quite well. I'll try to zoom in so you can have a good look. And they fitted quite well too. Make sure you shake off the excess. I did have a little bit of a run, which I had to sand it lightly again and dip again. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and share me with your friends. Catch you on the next one.